In this video, I'm going to go over BlackBerry stock because they did have their Investor Day 2024 on October 16th. Just going to go over bullet points of the key points for the most part. And if you do want to rewatch the video, which I highly encourage you to do so because they will have the more finer details, and it's a little bit over 3 hours long, but the replay should pop up right about here on my channel. And I did go over the what you could expect for Q3 earnings, which will be reported on an estimated time frame of December 19, 2024, provided by BlackBerry's website. I go over the forecasts, outlooks, year-over-year comparison, quarter-over-quarter comparison, all that stuff. Highly encourage you to watch it. Video should pop up right about here. Again, estimated time frame is December 19, 2024 for Q3 earnings, fiscal year 2025. Now, to go over the bullet points, I'm just going to go over them basically bullet point by bullet point and then provide a little bit more details as I'm going through the bullet points. So the first thing is they said that they are going to be returning to profitability as we move towards the end of the fiscal year, which will be reported on March 26, 2025. This is for Q4 fiscal year 2025, but the end of the fiscal year will be reported on March 26, 2025. Again, this is just an estimate. The date could change, but this is provided by BlackBerry's website. Next bullet point is Cylance still requires investment to drive growth, which is a little bit unfortunate because they did buy Cylance for a little bit of $1 billion. And Cylance was kind of an upward trajectory for revenue growth. They did state that they did take Cylance more for the intellectual property in terms of the AI stuff and incorporated to the other BlackBerry products, which is nice if we see revenue growth coming in overall, but we'll see. Still, time will tell. Next point is IoT sector is moving into what BlackBerry does, and BlackBerry says that they are leading in the IoT sector given their intellectual property, which is awesome. Again, so IoT sector is moving towards what BlackBerry has worked towards. So hopefully that does drive up revenue growth overall, which we're seeing IoT sector growing not IoT sector, but IoT division in BlackBerry growing. So hopefully that still continues to be the pace. Then next point is great product wins in the last 6 months and hinted at more wins coming in the future. So there was a couple times that they stated that we'll mention this in the future. There's a design win, etc., etc. So that's awesome. 100 plus design wins in the last 18 months they mentioned as well. And then the next point they mentioned was that the AWS, so Amazon Web Services, and Cylance work has turned to a product, and more details will be brought up on a later date, which could be some exciting stuff, like hopefully. Then the next point is there is marketing now for QNX and IoT, and more will be mentioned at a later date. So it'll be interested to see what that does come out in terms of revenue growth at the end of the day, in terms of driving product sales. The next point is leading customers are asking them to do more for QNX and IoT, which is awesome because in the past it's been more so BlackBerry approaching their customers saying, would you like this kind of product or that product? But now the customers are coming to them and saying, do you provide this product or could you provide this kind of product? So that's pretty awesome. The next point is BlackBerry has the right ISO safety level for automakers, and automakers needs to hit this level of safety for their modules to be able to sell the vehicle. So quite important, especially to the next point, because the sector or the industry is asking for this safety level because they understand the importance of it as well. So BlackBerry also mentioned that BlackBerry meets the safety standards, which is important since the industry wants that, and operating systems like Linux, which was considered as a competitor, is not able to compete due to the lack of meeting these safety standards. So that is quite important because some people thought that Linux, since it was open source, would be more widely adapted, but because that safety issue and the industry is asking for those safety levels to be met, it poses not risk, but it's a challenge for Linux, right, the operating system. So BlackBerry has the upper hand in that sense. So that's pretty awesome. Then the next point is they went over their security products that they provide and stated that they have so many security certifications and government approvals, which are not easy to get these approvals. That is the one reason why, personally, for me, the cybersecurity division is, for the time being, in terms of not seeing revenue growth climb as much as I would hope it would be, kind of a letdown. Because we've seen competitors in the cybersecurity sector grow substantially, and yet BlackBerry isn't, when it has the government approvals and some certifications that other companies are not able to get, again, because they are quite challenging to get. Yet BlackBerry could get them, or able to get them, because their products, you could argue, are more superior to be able to get these government clearances and all that stuff, approvals. So yet we're not seeing the revenue coming in. They're not able to sell the products correctly. It's kind of disheartening, right? That's the only downfall. But we'll see if hopefully everything turns around. Like again, they stated earlier, and there's a point within here. Even though the Cylance side is not necessarily growing, they said the MRD portion is growing, or they're seeing a little bit of a bump up, which is nice. even though Cylance is not necessarily growing like we would hope it to grow, that's just one portion of the cybersecurity division, by the way. So there are other products within that division. So it doesn't mean the cybersecurity division is not going to be growing. It's just, I would hope it to grow more substantially over time, just like we've seen other competitors in the cybersecurity sector. The next point that they mentioned was BlackBerry AtHoc has 100% renewal rate, which is pretty awesome. The next point is they are seeing good customer retention and growth year over year. Then they mentioned that they continue to go over, they continue to go over their presence in the cybersecurity world. They also went over advancing their AI cybersecurity side in the past 18 months and filed more patents in this area, which is good because if companies do approach them and saying, can we use this intellectual property and pay you royalties, that is more revenue growth for the companies to see. Not all the time to be the case. Sometimes BlackBerry might need to have their litigation team go after companies in terms of collecting royalties, but it depends on the scalability of the other company in terms of are they seeing real revenue coming in, so then BlackBerry could take their fair share, like to make it worth it for them to go. Because having your litigation team to go after royalty payments, it's not necessarily guaranteed and it could be costly, right? So it's a balance to see if it's worth it or not. Then they talked about their division team separation, which they've mentioned before. I didn't really include too much details, but if you do want to see the details, again, the replay should popped up in the beginning, so I highly encourage you to rewatch it anyway. But these are just basically key points. And then also they talked about not really focusing on Cylance as much as before and focus more on things that are seeing growth. So like I stated earlier, even though the Cylance side is not necessarily seeing the growth that they were hoping for, they are focusing more on the products that they're seeing growth. So hopefully that does actually work out where we see revenue growth coming in more substantially since they're focusing on the products that are already seeing growth in general and just basically amplifying them. And then they talked about IoT and design cycle wins lengths. So like they've mentioned in the past, the design win lengths are pretty substantial. They're 7 to 10 years long, which is pretty awesome. At the same time, it's like almost like a, not double-edged sword, but a little bit of a negative. Since they're pretty much big contracts, they take some time to sign. So it's not like they get signed really quickly. So that is one small downfall. But the benefit, again, because not because they take so long to get signed, but they are massive at the same time. So when these design wins come in, they're 7 to 10 years long, which is awesome. They stated that 80% is tied to, in terms of the IoT division that they have, 80% is tied to the automotive business, but they are working to expand that even more they're working to expand even more outside of automotive sector as well, which is good. Then the backlog revenue they mentioned, which is about $815 million and growing, only 33% will be coming in the next 3 years, which is a bit of a letdown personally for me. I would hope that more of that would be coming in within the next 3 years. But again, they've mentioned before that the backlog, even though it's growing and all stuff, it's not all of it is guaranteed to ever come in technically, right? A good portion will be coming in, obviously, but the thing is though, it's not necessarily guaranteed because some companies could be backing out from what they asked for, right? Then the next point is from the patents sold. If you remember, they sold the patents, got a big chunk about a year ago, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And then they are supposed to get continued payments throughout the years within the next 7 years to come in. So basically, they stated that from the patents sold, BlackBerry still has possibly more profits coming in, which we're aware of that, and they stated that, but has a $30 million cash guarantee coming in May of 2026. Not substantial, but it's nice that we know, and they made us aware that $30 million will be coming in May 2026. Again, that is guaranteed. Next point is they're constantly reducing corporate cost. And then they mentioned that in 26 and 27 fiscal year, they will be profitable, not just baseline profitable. So at the end of the fiscal year 2025, they will be profitable, reporting profitability, but it will be just technically, for the most part, just a baseline kind of thing. But for the full year of fiscal year 2026 and the full year of fiscal year 2027, they will be profitable, which is awesome, right? Because for fiscal year 2025, it's just at the end of the fiscal year, they will be profitable. And then they mentioned that once cash gets better, that BlackBerry will be back at looking at M&A market again, so mergers and acquisitions. So they haven't been doing that for quite some time, it looks like, and they will be getting back to that once they are pretty much way more cash heavy than they are now. Then they got to the Q&A session, and for this portion, I wrote a note and I'm going to go over it right now, and I'm going to basically touch base on it. So I stated that I don't know how to actually word this, but for the IoT, for the automotive side, yes, more vehicle sales would help revenue, but more content creation in the space will provide revenue growth. So slow vehicle sales cycles is not a fully an issue overall, if that makes sense. So essentially, from what I actually remember right now, the question was asked, since the automotive sector is seeing headwinds, right? Does that mean BlackBerry will still have the headwinds as well because of repercussion of the auto sector having the headwinds? And they stated that yes, the auto sales being slow is of an impact, but it over time won't be a concern, because they said that what will help the revenue coming in for BlackBerry in the automotive sector will be the content creation. So in essence, if you could think about it, just like back when BlackBerry Ivy, hopefully will grow later on, but it's just the idea was you would have content creation, revenue growth within that. So where every vehicle, there'll be continuous revenue growth for that vehicle, the lifespan of the vehicle. So even though the auto sales drop down, you have basically all these vehicles from previous years still generating revenue. So they stated that over time, with more content creation, that the lower vehicle sales won't be necessarily a headwind for us. Yes, it would be nice to have more vehicle sales overall, which would increase revenue either way. But again, the impact of the auto sector in terms of headwinds over time won't be much of a hit for BlackBerry, which is awesome. Hopefully that makes sense from what I stated and reiterated. The next point is, so they stated that it looks like Ivy has not grown like they have expected, and that customers want to pick and choose what features they want. And in a way, Ivy is also being mixed in with QNX, where some want bigger systems and some want smaller systems. So there is a lot of being mixed to offer what the customer wants in a way. So we'll see how that unfolds over time. And then for me, one key takeaway from me, it looks like they are seeing more growth on the IoT side of the business and are in a way focusing more on that. So it's still focusing on cybersecurity side, but it just seems like they're focusing a lot on the IoT side. Again, for me, that's fine if we see revenue growth. And again, they stated that they're focusing on the products that they see growth in. So hopefully that does work out. It seems to make sense to me, but hopefully at the end of the day, that does bear fruit overall. Again, thanks again for watching. I do appreciate it. And be mindful why you watch this. I do own shares in the company, so be aware that why you watch this. And at the same time, I'm not a professional. So please do your own due diligence and research before buying and selling. Thanks again for watching. If you have any questions, comment them down below. Thanks again for watching. Take care. God bless and peace.